Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Ali, and welcome to this little mini-series where we're going to see how Oddworld New and Tasty looks like out of bound. So first of all, I want to say special thanks to Kapteeni13 and WhiteSnoop for their got trainer codes. And with their trainer codes, I can be able to move ape wherever I want, and with that, we can get some interesting experience. So, this little mini series is getting cut in different parts, and in this first part, we're going to discover Rupturefarms out of bound. So, without any further ado, let's get started. If we take Ape upwards, we can see the rest of the stack of barrels. But what's more interesting is that we're also going to see this really tall wall here. And interesting enough, we can't really see this in the game itself. But if we move Ape to the left, we can see the rest of the barrels getting into an end. But what's interesting here is that there is an invisible platform that Ape can even step on it. Well, there is nothing really special here other than that. But what is more interesting is that upward there is 3 black planes in the air. And if Ape touches these planes or just collides with them, they just teleport him back into the start position. And anything else, there's nothing really interesting to see here other than that. Did you know that this secret area is not actually a part of this section here? If you go down, there is actually nothing. The secret area is not part of this section here. This is why the game has to load every time you enter a secret area. If we move Ape upwards, we can actually see that there is a really tall wall here that is covering the entire level. Oh boy, that is insane. And I don't think we'll ever be able to see this. Like, I can't even see that. I did not even know that this whole wall covered the entire level. Moving into this part here, if we take Ape into a specific location, we will be able to let the camera move forward now. And if we move forward, we can now see what is in the background. We see those platforms and the barrels here. What is interesting is that most of these platforms do actually have an end, and when these barrels get to the end of those platforms, they just disappear. And if we get more forward, we'll see more platforms here. And I want to say this is insanely detailed for this game here, because you'll never be able to see these platforms here and those buildings here. And if we just zoom more forward, we'll get into this very tall wall here. And to see what is besides on that, well, to my surprise, there is actually another tall wall. But after this, there is nothing. Absolutely nothing. Moving on up here, that if you take Ape up, we can actually see that the stack barrel already ends here. But what is interesting here is that if we actually move the camera forward, we can actually see that the rest of this barrel is actually not a 3D model, but rather just a flat image. Or maybe not an actual flat image, but they are still a bit of a little 3D models. I can't really see it from this perspective, but it looks like they have been a little bit of 3D models. So, yeah, there you have it. They're not real. I mean, okay, this is definitely a trick to save some storage. It's very stable, but now you know it. If we take our camera forward here, we can just take a look how it looks like right here. For those barrels here that is falling, they actually just come out from nowhere. They just clip through these barrels here. There's not even a hole at all. It's pretty weird. Yeah, and just moving forward here, there's just more barrels, and those further is also just almost flat, just like those which I just showed you before. Now if we do a little trick correctly, we can now be able to zoom the camera out and we'll get a really good look of the first section of Rupturefarms. Take a look. Moving on to the next section. In the first part, we can be able to zoom the camera forward and backward. Now, if we zoom the camera backward, we can actually see that the orange fox actually get to an end, and we'll see the black background, which is basically nothing. Now, going on into this part here, if we zoom, we can be able to zoom the camera forward. Well, there isn't a lot of interesting things here to see. But if we just clip through this wall here, we can see that the atmosphere is turning green instead. Okay, pretty weird. And we'll also be able to see that these scrap meats actually just spawn from nowhere. Moving on into the next section of Rupturefarms. Well, there isn't a lot to see here, aside from just getting a really good look of the background. But if we move the camera upwards, we can actually see a really long pipe, but it's even get to an end. And we can also see there's again a really tall building, and besides that there's again black background, aka nothing. If we move our camera forward, we can see what is happening with these scrap cages and where they come from. Well, the camera here is unstable, so I couldn't be able to move it down, so yeah. But just if we take a quick look, we can actually see that this scrap just spawned from nowhere. When we reach this part where the elevator has to go down, if we move the camera upward, the line gets to an end. Even when we move it down, there is nothing. It also gets to an end. What is interesting here is if we move the camera down, we can actually see two doors, left and right. It seems like they wanted to make the last section of Rupturefarm as part of this section here. Moving on into the last section of Rupturefarm. Well, there is nothing really interesting to see here, aside from where these cages come from. If we zoom the camera right here, we'll get really good look, and we can see that the cages that gets out actually teleports back into the start position. So these are the same one, and this is, yeah, a real cool developer trick. But aside from that, there is nothing else interesting to see here in the last section. So that is all for seeing Rupturefarms Out of Bounds. Next time we're going to explore Stockyards Out of Bounds. So thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.